Imagine a world where private banking is accessible to everyone, where everyone could have tailor-made investment portfolios, where you could have latest payment solutions with IoT and a secure digital exchange. 18 years ago, when I was still a kid and I was breakdancing, we were always looking for the best breakbeat musics. And it was extremely hard to source this type of music because it was only few DJs that were doing around the world. And back then, there was no YouTube. There was only some mixtapes. One day, I was introduced to a peer-to-peer digital exchange. If someone remembers it, the first one, it was called Napster. Back then, sir, you were able to send digital files to someone else on a peer-to-peer basis. And that was something great. But few years later, it was the same platform that existed, which was a peer-to-peer decentralized exchange, which was called eDonk in email. And there I realized that you didn't need to know someone to download and exchange different files. You would be able to do that on a trusted network, on a decentralized level, meaning that you didn't need to know, it's just that you had a trusted network. Back then in 2002, I realized that not only technology was going to take over, but it was going to take over with a trusted network. A few years, I started my career working in private banking, creating wealth for wealthy people, and I realized that this was a great job, but I said, let's maybe do something a little bit different and try to get into the more technology space. So I worked for different hedge funds in the algo trading business. And I was really happy about it because I was like, oh, yeah, there you go. I'm in the technology field right now. I'm creating algorithms that automates and optimize the trading. And we're doing great performance. But there was still something missing. The thing was missing was this trusted network. As you all know, the market of crypto assets today has been booming. A few years ago, the first transaction of a Bitcoin was a pizza. Does someone know in this room how much Bitcoins was spent for that beautiful slice of pizza? 10,000. 10,000 Bitcoins. You know how much that would be today? Yeah, quite a lot. Taking into consideration that one Bitcoin today is roughly $8,200. This market cap today of the total crypto assets started at $15 billion. And today we're at over $230 billion. If that's not an asset class, what it is? We have today a market that trades 24/7, 365. There's no Christmas. And it has over 10 billion of liquidity on a daily basis. And we're seeing these numbers growing and growing and growing and growing. And the adoption rate is going stronger and stronger because now you don't need to go through a bank always. You could have just a mobile. And with a mobile, you could get a wallet. And a wallet, you could get exchange. And where is this market heading? Most probably to $1 trillion market cap in the next 2 years. But with this said, who believes here in the room that this is a bubble? Raise your hand. Okay, so there's a left and a half. And how many people here in this room has crypto assets in their portfolio? Oh, quite a lot. Good. So as we see most bubbles right now, as was done in 2001 with the tech bubble, it was still a $6.7 trillion market. Okay. Here we're only at 250 billion or 240 billion. This still has a big size for improvement. Does that mean that every crypto asset is going to make it? Of course not. Does Jesus coin going to make it? Is Weed coin going to make it? Is FUCK coin going to make it? Of course not. But that doesn't mean the other ones are not going to prevail. Back in 2001 in this room, I'm sure so many people were working. Would you realize that one day just a social media app company would be worth over what, 300 billion market cap Facebook today? All of the new market caps, the top 5 market caps, they didn't even exist almost 15 or 18 years ago. So that's something you have to take into consideration. ICOs, we talked about this earlier. Who knows what's an ICO? Who has participated or at least knows what's an ICO, initial coin offering? Great, so I don't need to do anything here. It looks like everyone knows everything. Great. So an ICO essentially is the fact, it's like an IPO in some way, where you're launching your coin and you hope to raise money out of it. And this has been going on since really Ethereum got into the market. Ethereum today, that is probably the best protocol, or at least the most functional protocol, which has the biggest community behind it, where people are using this primitive protocol blockchain to actually launch their own apps. And that has been going on for the last 2 years. As of today, since year to date, apps have raised over $3.2 billion US. And as you can see, the performance of these high-risk ICOs is very, 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 very high, over 1,000%. Does that mean that every ICO is going to succeed? Obviously not. There's been a huge rush, and there's been very successful ICOs, and there's been unsuccessful ICOs as well. There's some apps that are doing very well, and there's obviously some that are today still facing a lot of different issues regarding the strategy, regarding their business model, regarding how they're implementing their views. So coming from the off-chain banking world, and some people I'm sure in the room will recognize that, there's few issues that's coming from it. I would say that one of the main issue is people to get accounts is very time consuming, and the onboarding process is very long. Very often, there's a lack of transparency. There could be high fees as well, going with that. And customization is still not where it should be. Whereas on the on-chain world, the blockchain world, you don't have so much of these problems, but you're facing a lot of other problems. The first thing is there are very few investment solutions. So many people want to participate into the blockchain era, but it's so hard to get into it. You know, creating your wallet, not losing your private key, and all of those different steps. As well, we're having more and more cryptocurrencies. People don't actually even know the reason why there's all these different cryptos. We have over 3,000 or 4,000 different crypto assets, and most of them, have no real interest, and there's no real utility to it. Another problem is that there's no real financial advisory company that's only looking at crypto assets and advising and doing papers and reports on it, and that's something that obviously is misguided. And obviously the last thing that you all are afraid about if someone hacks your wallets, your phones, your computer, and then swipe out your whole wallet. And that's something that I think so everyone's fear, and that's the reason why I think so the adoption rate today is not as big as it should be. With SwissBorg, what do we came up with? We thought about creating a community-centric crypto investment platform where all together we would swarm in this intelligence and create this unique solution. Where, sir, you could be, for example, a portfolio manager. Ma'am, you could be a financial advisor. You could be as well a social media blogger. And all together, we would swarm in this different intelligence and will be rewarded based on that system. As of today, we have an investment platform that will be creating customized investment mandates. And the philosophy is to really believe that the Cadeau is the best solution, meaning you customize, you automate it through algorithms and through smart contracts. You make it decentralized to make sure you have the biggest community, and then you have to optimize it. The smart mandates. This would be the new breed of investment mandates. Everyone has different fits. Everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has different goals in life. And going forward, as tokenization will evolve, we think this would be a nice and a fair way to actually create interaction and logistics within a bank. So imagine this in 4 different pillars. The number 1 pillar would be to have your digital ID. As you know, there's more and more companies that are providing digital IDs on the chain, and that's a great reason. That there's a lot of great projects going that. You have probably heard about Civic, has done a great job, did an ICO, raised 45 million, and already have a massive adoption rate. And it's a good process to do all the KYC, going forward AML as well, about your wallets, but of your on-chain activities, but off-chain as well. The number 2 would be the creating your token. So mean that your token, what type of blockchain would you want to put all this information? Do you want to be completely transparent and go on Ethereum and put it on ERC20 token that will enable you to get all the information to everyone? Or you want to say, wait, I don't want to put all my ID, I want to put all my tax reports and everything on the chain. I want to keep something private. Maybe in that case, we'll make it semi-private. So some information we could store it, for example, on Hyperledger, and some information we could open it up. The third pillar will be wealth management services, really creating customized portfolios, as we said earlier, of assets, and providing investment management services. The number 4th would be more of additional crypto asset services, such as payment solutions that we're going more and more. We're working with different partners of that to have cold storage credit cards that you could put on your Bitcoins and they could change in fiat seamlessly on different exchanges. You could have as well loans, and then you could learn through the investment platform that we have, Building Academy. We talked about the digital ID. This would look the process, KYC, AML, making sure we know that you're your customer, but as well it's clean money, and then making sure you have a client profile risk. The number 2 step and the third would be really to understand now what's the target return that you want. What type of investment in crypto assets you're interested in. What type of ethical assets you want. Are you Shire compliant? Will you go in gambling? Of course not. Based on that, you log onto our platform. You'll have different portfolio of crypto assets, and based on your risk profile and all your digital ID, we would then choose different tokens that will represent the best portfolio you could have. Number 4, you'll have obviously live reporting on the go. So now you're all asking probably, what's our revenue model? How do we make money out of it? Like most investment management companies, I would say, we make it on management fees and performance fees, and as well on transaction fees. And what will be the different products? We'll have different token funds, as you probably understood. The smart mandates that will offer different services, blockchain-based. We'll have our own digital exchange, where people will be able, peer-to-peer, to trade and exchange different digital assets. And as well, an off-chain fund. What do we call by off-chain fund? It's a regular fund. Because, as you know, the adoption rate is not that massive. Not everyone wants to go on the chain, but everyone has the exposure to Bitcoin, to Ethereum, and all different crypto assets. So January 1st, we'll have a Gibraltar fund that people will have regular eyes in. We'll do that through the regular counterparties. And we'll have a regular fund where you could be investing in whatever fiat currencies, and that we'll be managing it on the chain, on the blockchain. Is this space crowdy? It's getting more and more. There's more and more players coming throughout the world, and this is the beauty out of blockchain, is that wherever you're based in Ukraine, in Estonia, in Korea, or in Canada, whatsoever, or in Europe, there's more and more different companies and startups getting into this business. And this is the beauty of it. I mean, I just came back from Davos the week before. I was traveling to Asia, and you're seeing more and more different DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, that are really teaming up with different people and creating great ventures. In the financial space, there's not so many players, or at least in the investment management, because most probably it's boring. I mean, I love it, but a lot of people think it's not as fun. The main difference, I think, coming from our side, not only our team, is our business model. We really believe that the advisory model is the best, because not one size fits all. And I think so that's the main thing. And we're really exploiting tokenization, but decentralization as well, making sure we're swarming in any community member that wants to take part of it. What's our team? Essentially, our team is decentralized. We're based, obviously, in Switzerland, our headquarters, Lausanne. We're 17 people working today, but we have offices as well and a trading team in Toronto, and we have as well 5 members in Tokyo. And the reason is that because, obviously, decentralization is something big, but again, this is a 24/7 market, and people like to sleep, so that's why we cover the 3 different continents. Most of our background is banking, hedge funds, algo trading, and FinTech as well. Who are advisors? Mainly our advisors are people that help us navigate the legal side, tech side, the governance of the company. We really try to get best governance from our different advisors. You would maybe notice 2 or 3 people here on the board. Daniel Gashtigayer, he's putting the digital ID actually on the chain, which is really, really great. Miko Matsumara, he's one of the blockchain guru that you would probably recognize as well. And we have people that are a little bit around the world are helping us to create this and reshape the new financial era. Now, ICO, we talked about it. In Switzerland, we call it token generation event. So what's the idea? You got it. It's we give you a token, and vis-a-vis of the token, you will buy it and pay us in fiat money or in cryptocurrencies. A lot of people have the difficulty of understanding what's the purpose of it. And I totally understand the fact, because very often a crypto asset or cryptocurrency doesn't have a real value. And that's the case for a lot of different crypto assets, and I couldn't agree more. Because when you're giving a donation to foundation, the legal attachment to it doesn't make sense. I mean, why would you do a donation to foundation, right? I think so. What we're doing is a little bit different. We want to make sure that all our community and our investors, when all these different token holders, actually get empowered by this token. And by doing so, what we're organizing is that every crypto token holder who will have the CHSB token, every 3 months, will be voting on the strategy of the group. And based on this voting system, we would reward them in revenue sharing. So meaning that every 3 months, we all gather, we'll have a question, and on that question, altogether our community would vote. And based on that voting system, we would do revenue sharing with them. And that's for us the best way how we could implicate swarm-end intelligence, but reward them as well. Because that's what blockchain is about, is to be building a unique platform, but based on a meritocratic system, where everyone has his voice and could have governance over the decentralized autonomous organization. And that's a huge paradigm. It's not about investing. It's about being part of a community. Every day on a daily basis, people send me messages and say, how can I help you, Cyrus? How can we do this? How can we do that and that and that? And based on that, we're rewarding them. 2 weeks ago, there was someone from Turkey. He's 19 years old, living in the middle of Turkey. He says, I love SwissBorg, how can I help? I'm like, whatever you want. He says, do you guys speak Turkish? I'm like, well, actually, we do a little bit, but we're not that fluent. He says, can I translate your white paper in Turkish? I'm like, of course, do it. If it's well done, we'll reward you in tokens. And that's what swarm intelligence is about. It's not about creating this new centralized company that you'll have the big stick and say, this is what we do. It's no, what should we do together? And how can we benefit from the voice of each other? And for that reason, we're having our TGE on December 7th, where we want to raise 50 million Swiss francs for the community. So far, we've raised 15 million. We will be giving back 80% of the tokens and keeping only 20% for us. Going forward, our project, this is the V1 token. The V2 that will give, the CHSB token will transform into the V2, hopefully very soon. We'll create the C-share protocol, meaning that the token, will be linked directly to the company. So you'll actually have a real share in our company with governance rights, dividend rights, and voting rights going forward. That's the aim goal, to make sure that we're not doing an ICO, we're actually doing an IPO on the blockchain. Obviously for that, the Swiss Chamber of Commerce has to approve it. The technicals, we have it right. We're working with different universities and PhDs to make sure that the case will go through, and that's the end goal. What is our expertise? As you probably noticed, it's about trading, investment management. This is a portfolio of crypto assets that we're doing. We're not only doing buy and hold, which is a great strategy, by the way. Don't forget that this market did 15x since the beginning of the year. Repeat myself, 15x. But as well, it's a very mature market. We're in the teenage years of blockchain, of crypto assets. And therefore, it's extremely inefficient. If there's any portfolio managers or people from the investment side, this is a little bit like the 80s and the 90s in Asia, where you could just do arbitrage all the time, or maybe like the 50s in Wall Street or in London Stock Exchange. This market is hugely inefficient, and that's why 50% of our portfolio is more on absolute return strategies. We look at arbitrage. We do a lot of credit, because it's a market that no one wants to lend. You could lend up to 1 to 2% per day, different crypto assets to different exchanges. You could do great yields as well in fiat, US dollars or yens as well, with great counterparties behind it. We do as well some trend following, more quantitative strategies, event-driven, obviously, and we invest as well in different ICOs, because even if there's a tendency of having more and more ICOs that are a little bit crazy and phony, there's still some of them have great aspects, and with that, this year was a great year for us. What's our roadmap? We're basically wealth managers based in Switzerland. We manage different hedge funds. Right now, we want to establish crypto asset hedge funds. We want to be going forward. We want to raise the 50 million Swiss francs to operate as a unique banking model that'll be regulated hopefully in Switzerland first. More and as we evolve, we would like to offer more and more investment solutions, but as well payment solutions and a digital exchange. These are our partners. Essentially, we work with most counterparties that we feel that are doing great in our fields in Switzerland, but as well in the world in blockchain. This is pretty much it. Really, in a nutshell, SwissBorg, what are we doing today? Is that we're really mixing both worlds. The world of investment management and as well blockchain. And by doing so, we're really utilizing blockchain's technology through tokenization and encryption, but as well its philosophy, building a meritocratic system by swarming in everyone who wants to participate and rewarding them. With that ado, my name is Cyrus Fazel. I'm CEO and founder of SwissBorg. Thank you very much.